Is your child defiant, inflexible, and stubborn? What if I tell you that your child is passionate, is tenacious, and is determined? Well, do you know that these strong-willed traits that your kids are having can serve them well in adulthood? Like you think about all the successful entrepreneurs or world leaders, they are determined. They are passionate about what they do, and they persevere, and they keep going. They don't give up. They're resilient, and these are the exact skills that our kids are displaying right now. But of course, when the kids are younger and they are not listening, when they test our limits, it can be very, very frustrating. So in today's live session, I want to help you reframe your mind about your strong-willed children, and at the same time give you actionable strategies and scripts that you can say to your strong-willed children. So to make this as fruitful as possible, please type in any questions that you have. I'm just going to spend like 5-10 minutes talking about how we can shift our perspective, and I want to jump straight into giving you the strategies to try. All right, so my first question to you guys is, likely most of you have a strong-willed child, right? My question to you is, who does your child take after? Is it mommy, daddy? Is it both, or is it none? While you are typing your answer, I will share mine. My son takes after me. Okay, he is, very determined person. He's very strong-willed, and I am too. So sometimes I look at him and I see myself in him. Like I see that, he wants things done in a certain way, which is what I do as well. So this is what happened, right? When we go head to head with our children, no good outcomes will happen. All right, some of you said mommy, some of you said both. All right, so so we don't want to blame our kids for being strong-willed. They're just being them, right? But at the same time, we want to understand what is going through in their mind. Okay, strong-willed children are often misunderstood. Let this sink in. Strong-willed children are often misunderstood. They want to tell you something, they want to get something, they have some ideas, some thoughts, they want things to go their way, but because you shut them down or you tell them no, you can't, they don't feel that you understand them. So what else do? It leads to more defiant behaviors. So today we're going to also talk about what do we do when our kids start to be rude to us or be defiant. So feel free to type in your questions in the comment box, and I'll answer after a short while. All right? Okay. So Nicole asks, may I know if stubborn is strong-willed? I think stubborn is one of a trait that we see in a strong-willed child, right? When the child wants, doesn't want to eat broccoli and just refuses to eat broccoli. All right, but I think it's a matter of how we perceive it. So today I want you to understand that your child is often misunderstood, and I want you to take time to understand them. So what do I mean? I'm going to start now. Now, how many times in a day does your child have, that freedom to decide what he wants to eat, what he wants to wear, where he wants to go, what shows he wants to watch, or how much time he has to, watch TV? Okay, I'm not saying that the kids get to control everything. But when we decide most of the stuff for our children, then they don't feel this sense of autonomy. Our children have this intrinsic need to want to be in control. We are all hardwired to want to feel empowered. Not just your kids, even adults as well. I often tell this to the parents in my course that your kids want to feel independent. They want to feel like they can be in charge. No matter how young your kids are, they are able to show you who is boss. For example, you bring your baby home and your baby just doesn't want to change the diaper. He doesn't want to lie down. What does he do? He starts kicking. He wants to show you that he wants to take charge. He wants to be empowered. Or even all the way, to the elderly, where if they're sick and they don't want to go to the doctor, you can't do anything to get them to go to the doctor. It's hard, right? So all humans have this hardwired need to want to be in control. We have to understand that. And Because your kids want to be in control and you want to be in control, what happens? This leads to a power struggle. Everybody wants things to go their way. And what you can do, we are the adults, okay? We have to step out of this power struggle. We need to see that this power struggle will lead us to nowhere. So no point arguing with your kids, comparing voices, getting louder and louder. This will not solve the problem. So what we want to do is to offer our children age-appropriate control. So this can be very tricky, right? So in my course, I will teach you exactly what to say and what to do. But right now, I'm just going to help you understand what do I mean by age-appropriate control. So for example, watching television, screen time. The age-appropriate control will be your child deciding how much time he gets to watch within the boundaries that you set. So if you can think of it as you making the big decision and they will make the small decision. That is how you can offer that age-appropriate control. So the big decision is that your screen time limit is 30 minutes, okay? Of course, there are a lot of nuances to how you set these limits because you need to first make that connection with your children. But let me just jump straight into how you let them make that small decision. So if you set a 30-minute limit, they can choose. They want to watch 20 minutes now or 10 minutes later. If the child insists that I want to watch 1 hour of screen time, that's where you want to be firm. Connect with your child, let the child know. Strong word children, they prefer connection, not direction. I just shared this inside my IG reel. So let the child know you really want to watch TV for so long. If only you can watch for 1 whole hour, isn't it? You will enjoy the show so much. We can only watch for 30 minutes because too much screen time is not good for your brain and not good for your eyes. Now, your strong word child will likely kick a big fuss, cry, go into a meltdown. That's fine. This is what your strong word child needs to experience and go through so that he or she can better regulate the emotions in the future when things don't go his way. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight to your questions. I think it's much easier for me to explain about the big decision, the small decision, and give you exactly what to say to your kids. All right, so the first question. When my 4-year-old son cry, when he doesn't get what he wants, he will cry. He will insist I'll go over and hug him. I will ask him, no, you can't, but he will insist and cry for real long. Do I give in? Okay, now, sometimes when parents think that if we go over, then we lost the battle, right? Our kids win the game, this entire struggle. I guess if we can reframe our minds and see that this is not about who is going to win and not about who is going to lose, okay? It's all about building skills in our children. So if this 4-year-old child is dysregulated, and at that moment, he has an ego in him as well, you have your ego, and at the end of it, like I said, there are no good outcomes if you just force the child to come over. I think it'd be good, during the moment, all right, if you see that he cannot come over to you, all right, you can slowly walk over, maybe meet him in the middle, get him to take 1 or 2 steps forward. So that is how you can strike a compromise. But I feel like this child is still very, very young, and likely when he cannot manage his own emotions, he's not able to even think that, I done something wrong, I should not insist my way. These teachings should come after, okay? So even if he cries for a long, long time, it's just normal and for him to, release the emotions in him. So I think you want to focus on the teaching after the entire crying episode, okay? What would you do when your child sulks or bangs stuff around? Example, asking her to brush his teeth and she got upset. Okay, so very common, the first thought that comes to our mind, right, when the kids throw things around but doesn't want to brush his teeth, we think that the child is defiant. Right? How can you not listen to me? I've told you so many times you have to brush your teeth. I've already set up a routine. You do this every single day, and now you are throwing things around. So we take it very personally, and we start to think that this child is outrightly defiant and he needs to be punished. But will punishment teach the child how to regulate her emotions better, how to behave better, how not to bang stuff? Unlikely. Okay, so what will you do if the child starts banging stuff around? We don't want our kids to hurt anyone or damage any property. So if things are destroyed, you want to bring the child to one part of the house, or take away the things that she's throwing. Look at her in the eye. Okay, I always teach the parents, look at your child in the eye. You need to be calmer than your child. The louder your child go, the softer you should be. So look at her in the eye and tell her, I know you're very unhappy about this. So this is one of the scripts that you can try. I know you're very unhappy about this. Tell me more. Okay, so we want the child again to see that we are on the team, same team as your child, so that the child can feel that you understand him or her. That is why I say children often feel misunderstood, because they just want to bring their point across. You may not agree with their behavior, but they just want to feel seen and heard by you. Okay, so another script that you can try is, you are having a hard time. So even if your child is saying words like, I hate you, mommy, go out, I don't like my little sister, or she's throwing all her favorite toys, I don't want it anymore. The first thing you want to say, of course, to calm yourself down, you are having a hard time. It's true, she's having a hard time. She continues to cry, continues to throw. Stop her, keep everyone safe, and wait and hold space. There's really not much you can do to teach a child during this intense emotions, these moments that the child is experiencing. Okay, my toddler only wants to be empowered on certain things. He wouldn't tell me which shirt he wants to wear. Alright, so if the child doesn't want to choose which shirt he wants to wear, what I will do, okay, I will tell the child, if I know that the child is completely capable of doing that, I'll let the child know, alright, I know that you want to choose, and I'll let you choose. I'm going to step out of the room. When I come in, can you show me some magic and see and I want to find out what shirt you're wearing. So you want to be silly and be playful. Now, most of the time, our kids know what to do. They know what we want them to do. And if we can just add in a little bit of fun and not, yell at them, direct them, and be too strict and assertive, then they won't want to fight back and be defensive. The more we try to dictate, the more oppositional they can become. All right. So what if they laugh it off instead of obeying? They don't want to listen, especially when they're tired. Okay, so this is a very good question, and I like the way you say it, because they are tired. So when children are tired, even as us, when we are tired from work, so much to do, doing the laundry, cooking, cleaning the house, we're so tired, we really cannot function well. So if the child is laughing it off, don't take it personally. It's hard, all right? I'm not going to say that whatever, I ask you to do is very easy, it can be done easily. No, it's very, very hard. That is why you're here, to learn, right? This is an entire learning process. You take the first step to be aware of it. So if you see that the tomorrow, when your kids wake up and they start pushing your buttons, they start laughing off whatever you tell them and not obeying, stop, breathe. Don't take it personally, all right? Know that, if they have some underlying needs that need to be met, and you are there to help them, okay? So how do you handle a power struggle of a 2-year-old? How to control or handle the toddler that has not talked yet? It's hard, right? Because the child wants to use his behavior to communicate with you, but sometimes we just can't decipher what the toddler wants. So that leads to a power struggle, because maybe you tell the child that, or maybe the child wants to play with a certain toy, and you bring the toy over and he says, no, not this, and you bring another toy, he says, no, not this, and you get frustrated because you are being, so helpful, bringing the toy over, and the 2-year-old just keep pointing and saying, no, probably that's the only few words that the child knows how to speak. So at this moment, you want to build skills in a child. You don't want to end up in this power struggle. What I will do, for example, in this toy incident, I might actually go to the child and look at the child in the eye and say, you want something, let me bring you there. Okay, so I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to guess what the child wants, because children are often misunderstood. I want to clear this misunderstanding. I want to meet my child's needs. Even though the child can't talk, the child can point. So you can provide 2 options and get the child to point. If the options are not what the child wants, then, and is already out of your limits, then probably you have to tell the child, no. It's okay for you to say no to your kids. Some parents are a bit more permissive. They think that when they say no, then the child will not love the parent anymore. But sometimes when we say no, we are actually teaching our kids how to draw boundaries, how to say no themselves. And it is such an important skill in life. Okay? My child kicks the door repeatedly when I tell her no. Sometimes I just let her continue because I know I can't win at that point in time. Am I being permissive? I can understand the frustration. Like you already said it so many times. The child just refused to listen. What do? Sometimes you can just keep quiet. But of course, we don't compromise the safety of our kids. We don't let the child experience the natural consequence if it concerns like hygiene, safety, and health. All right. So in this case, if the child kicks the door, I do see this a bit like aggressive behavior. I might actually just take the child away. Okay, the child might struggle or insist on kicking, take the child away because this child is out of control at this moment. The child needs an adult to help her. Okay, to bring some, kind of like to ground the child. Yeah, the child hopes that the adult can be there to ground the child even though the child is acting out, and we want to understand that and be there for the child. Okay, my 3-year-old hates drinking water and I often have to bribe him with screen time to drink that bottle of water. I will say things like, Mom is going to pause the TV if you are not drinking. It's very tempting because when we say things like this, when we start threatening, we start trying to take away some privileges, the kids comply, and it works, right? It works because we won the power struggle. Because when we threaten, the child gives in, the child complies, the child obeys, and we won the power struggle. We feel good because we also have this need to be in charge. We also want to gain autonomy. But the thing is, when you start threatening your kids, right, they will reach an age where these threats don't matter anymore. They won't even care. Like if you say, I'm going to take away the TV or take away your screen time, just take it away because your kids are going to grow older. So in this case, we focus on building skills. So if your child refuses to drink water, the kids are still very young, I would try to make it fun. So actually just today, my daughter, I realized these few days when she brings her water bottle to school, she hardly drinks. And I was a bit concerned. So I asked her, why is it that, you don't really drink much water? And she said that sometimes when she drinks too much, she needs to go to the toilet, but the teacher doesn't allow her to do so. So I don't know how true that is. Perhaps she has tried to ask the teacher, but the teacher didn't see her. I'm not sure about that. So what I did today, right, instead of like telling her that if you don't drink, I'm going to take away screen time, I actually took a rubber band. I don't have it here right now. I took a rubber band and I tied it to the bottle and I tied it to a spot, a level that she has to finish. Now, I obviously know that when she brings the bottle, the rubber band will move. But the point is, I want to give her that, scaffolding to know that it's important to drink water. And if you don't know how much you drink, you can use this rubber band to like decide for you. So she came back and the rubber band was all the way up. But anyway, she drank more water than she did. And that's my whole point, that she remembers that she has to drink her water. Yeah, so let's try to make it fun, make it playful, and also enjoy these parenting moments. Like, sometimes we are so fixated on making sure that they do A, they do B, they do C, they do D, they get everything done, they're a good kid, they obey. But we forget to laugh along and enjoy these moments with our children. And they always say, right, that the time flies, the kids are going to grow up very quickly. By then, you realize that you are so, obsessed with them putting on a sufficient weight, eating enough nutrition food, doing their homework, learning their spelling, get everything correct. But you fail to build that relationship with your children. Yeah, so if no one tells you that, remember that the relationship is the most important thing. Even if the child is not drinking water, when you can strengthen the relationship, the child will eventually want to drink water, no matter how difficult it is. So, for example, I go back to the earlier part where I talk about how maybe the elderly just refuse to see a doctor because they're sick. But if you can connect with the elderly, speak to them and let them understand why it's so important for them to seek help, you stand a higher chance of getting them to go to the doctor. It's the same for our young kids as well. Once you've built that connection with your children, it's so much easier to get them to then cooperate, right? My 5-year-old have loud outbursts every time he doesn't get his way. He gets so loud, disrupts his class. How do I stop the loudness? Okay, if it disrupts the class, then during those moments, let the teachers handle. Okay, so we talk about how we can help this 5-year-old at home. Now, a 5-year-old child who is always so loud needs to understand that there are moments where he can't be loud, there are moments that he can be loud. We're not going to, tell your child, I'm not going to stop you from being loud, because there are times where you need to scream loudly. For example, if a stranger comes and take your bag or carry you away, you need to scream out loudly. You need to use your loud voice. But if you are in the library, you cannot use your loud voice because everyone is reading. We don't want to disturb others. Then you play a game with your 5-year-old. You say, can we try using our loud voice to say, I love you, mommy? Can we try using our library voice to say, I love you, mommy? Just make it fun, even though you can also get your child to test you, and you can try to make mistakes, laugh along, build up their relationship so the child knows that, yeah, mommy knows that I like to scream, but mommy is teaching me when is a good time to scream and when I should not. All right. For the older children, I remember I was reading a book about decibels, like how loud the plane is. So we start to, vary our voice according to the volumes. On the book, they talk about different decibels, and yeah, it makes it fun, and the kids know the limits. Okay, one trick for your strong-willed kids here is to make the rules and routine the bad cop. Make the rules and routine the bad cop. So when you can discuss with your child what are some of the routines at home, what are some of the rules at dinner time, if the child tries to push your buttons, test the limits, we refer to the routines and the rules. We make them the bad cop and say, look, when we sit at dinner time, we don't run around the table. And that's all you have to say. Because the child clearly knows, then you give your child the time and the space to do the right thing, right? Let me see. Is it considered threatening and is it detrimental when we threaten our kids? I would think it's not like an immediate adverse effect, but over time, when you keep threatening your children, they will, firstly, it breaks the trust, right? Can you imagine, you go to work and your boss is always threatening you, if you don't finish this work by today, you have to stay back overtime for the next few weekends. You don't feel good either. And when someone threatens you, it shows there's a mistrust, right? The person don't trust you, and that's why he have to threaten you. So I wouldn't say that there's a direct negative impact, direct immediate impact, but over time, the child is going to be very affected by how you communicate with the child, and threatening is definitely not the way to go. Okay. All right. 4-year-old is disruptive in class, talks loudly. Okay, so this is the same question, a very similar question about how you get your kids to practice the different volumes. Okay, so if the teachers don't really know what to do as well, I think the teachers have to try to work something out on their own, okay? But at home, if he's often disturbing his friends during that time in school, then you might want to decide, perhaps it's time to drop his nap. He doesn't need to nap. Give him some books, some drawings to do things that he likes to do, building. So you might want to communicate with the teachers, because there's really not much you can do at home to help your child behave in a social setting, because at home you don't have that social setting. But you can always do a pretend play. So at home you can set up little stuffed toys who are his friends. They are napping. You can ask him what kind of volume he should use. Then you can also communicate with the teachers about this. Maybe you have a common language like the library voice, so that the teacher can use the same phrase, like, mommy told me that you know how to use your library voice. Can you show me how you use your library voice when your friends are taking a nap? Okay. All right. How do you deal with hurtful words from our child? Like they say, you're not my mother, I don't like you, every single time. And it can be hurtful to hear all this. It is very hurtful, because we feel like we've done so much for the kids, and they're not appreciative, okay? Especially when we're constantly giving and nobody fills your cup. When our kids say words like, I hate you, okay, it's very hard. And somehow, I just want to prep everyone listening here. There will be a time in your parenting journey where your child will say, I hate you, or walk away from you, walk out of the house. That time will come. But it is because that child is still learning how to regulate emotions. I hope, when we teach our kids, eventually they won't have to do that. But when they use these hurtful words, firstly, we got to step out, of what our interpretation is, and understand that this child is dysregulated. This child says these words because he cannot manage his emotions. When you can not take it personally, then you are in a better state to try to help the child. Okay, of course you want to understand, why is the child behaving this way? Why did the child say I don't like you? So maybe the child is not happy because you set too much screen time limits. You don't give the child a phone, and that's okay. You don't need to set rules that your kids will like, but you need to be firm with your rules, and you need to make time to process it with your child. So explain why your child is not having a phone at this age. And for me, I like to depend on information. So I don't, like for example, there was this time when my girl likes to drink chocolate milk, and she keeps drinking chocolate milk. She keeps insisting on buying chocolate milk, and she even tell me that the healthier choice will go there. So what I did was to take that chocolate milk, and I point the ingredients to her, and I explain to her, there's a lot of sugar, and sugar is bad for you. And with her, of course my child is older, so I did a Google, about how sugar is bad for a person, and she read it. The next day, she stopped asking me to buy chocolate milk, because she sees why I'm stopping her from drinking the chocolate milk, and I give her like the evidence to prove to her. I think our kids are mature enough in a way to understand the facts, information, and it helps them. Versus you directing and saying, no chocolate milk, you're not allowed to drink. I told you how many times, if you drink it, I am going to take away your iPad. It doesn't teach them any skills. But if we can educate our children like how we educate ourselves, it's much easier for them to gain that connection from you, that trust, and then they will cooperate. So I'm not sure, if all the incidents we can actually use some kind of research or information to back it up. Like screen time, I will Google how much screen time does a 6-year-old need, all right, or how to improve reading. Yeah, so I'll just Google and I'll just read out that small paragraph to my kid. Or I think it's helpful also for yourself, so that you make this information the bad cop. So it's not you against your child, it's you and your child against whatever problem that you guys are facing, okay? Is it okay to make the child laugh when they're melting down? Is this considered distraction? It's wise to do so? I don't think so. I don't think that making the child laugh will build skills in the child when they're melting down. I think when the child is having a hard time, we want to help the child to release the emotion. So I talked about this during yesterday's IG Live. You can feel free to check out the video on YouTube. I uploaded it there. You can see how I keep talking about tantrums are not bad. So are not bad behavior. So we want to be there to support the child. Okay, this question I get a lot. My kid lies, caught many times, but she will keep lying to almost every single thing just to make me shut myself. Okay, our kids are intelligent. In order not to be punished, they will do whatever it takes to circumvent the rules. Lying is one of it. So punishment will lead to unwanted behaviors like lying, because the children don't want to, get into trouble. Now, why is the child lying in the first place? This is a question you have to find out. What is the child hiding, or why does the child need to lie to you? Like, what happened? Maybe the child is afraid that you will punish her. Maybe the child is afraid that you will not trust her, or you will not love her anymore. So instead of making the child tell the truth or labeling your child, you are always lying, this is very difficult for a strong-willed child to step out of it, to stop lying immediately. They will continue to do so because they don't know what else to do. When this happens, is when we figure out what is the problem that the child is lying about. Okay, so for example, homework. Okay, the child is saying, I don't have homework to do. Actually, the child has homework, but she doesn't want to do. Again, you want to tell a child that, I know you're having a hard time. You don't want to do your homework. Can you tell me how I can help you? So then we shift, from you versus the child, becomes you and the child versus their homework. So I always go back to this dynamics, because then you can shift your mindset about how you want to help your child instead of blaming or shaming the child. Okay, so dishonesty is something that are afraid or, triggered when we see our kids lie, because we think that they are going to be liars in the future when they lie now. But that's not true. Kids lie now because they want to cover up something, they're fearful. If we can help them to see that there's nothing to be afraid of, that mommy and daddy will be here to support you, then they won't be liars in the future. This is our time to turn this moment into a teachable moment to help the child. Okay? Alright, any tips to get a 10-month-old child to eat the food we prepared? She likes to eat fruits, refuse the other food. Okay, 10-month-old, still very young. I think, I don't know, have you tried baby led weaning? Have you tried to deconstruct the food? Have you tried to, put the food that she liked and the food that she doesn't like together? As in, not like blend it together, but near each other. So it's really up to the child to decide what he or she wants to eat. Now, I'm not a food expert, so I won't be able to kind of answer this question well. Okay, but I think for a 10-month-old who is really, really young, you want to avoid the child being a picky eater. You want to expose the child to the food in as many opportunities as possible, and to stimulate as many senses as possible. So you might want to get the child to maybe play with touch the food, smell the food, or maybe I remember when we were younger, we like to use carrot, right, to like play, do some art kind of thing, just to get the child to get close to the new foods for many, many, many times, like at least 20 times. That's what I heard, before the kids will be open to trying it. All right. Okay. How do you handle power struggles on medication? Unfortunately, when it's medicine, you just have to be the one to kind of give in a lot. So even I remember my son doesn't like to take medicine, and when he was much younger, what we did was to turn on the screen and we get him to watch while I feed him the fever medicine, because his fever was so high, and this is when taking care of him, his health is way more important. And it was like maybe 1-2 a.m. We turn on Netflix at 1-2 a.m. That was about when he was 3 years old. And slowly, as he grows older, we start to explain to him why it's important for him to take care of his body. We even tell him stories like how your body has no soldiers to fight anymore. These medicine are the soldiers. So if you don't take in, your body cannot fight the enemy. Yeah. And now that he's much older, he's 8, he's okay to take the medicine. I know previously we gave him with ice cream. I even asked the doctor if can I add ice cream to this medicine, and doctor said yes. So I gave him ice cream. So yeah, I think when it comes to sick children, they will always win. Yeah, this is the truth. Okay, I don't want to sugarcoat things. I want to tell you that it is really very hard. But as long as they are healthy back again, then we get our routines back. Okay. My 20-month-old is gaining independence and wants to do things herself, wearing shoes and pants. I let her do it, but when she can't, she gets upset and whines and trash her legs around. How to help? You don't have to help. You just need to let your child experience those disappointments and frustration when he or she can't wear that shoes or pants, right? It's fine. Yeah, so you can be there and watch. I know it's very tempting to put your hand across and just wear it and figure it out for your child, right? But by doing so, you deprive the child of learning how to figure out herself, and she also miss out on that, that emotion regulation part where she can practice learning how to overcome the frustration and try again. So they don't really need to help unless the child asks you, or you can say something like, if you need help, I'm here. Okay? But shouldn't the child learn to accept no and accept rejections to what is age appropriate, and how do we educate them to deal with no? I'm concerned that we give the illusion of too much control. They won't learn to balance obedient compromise versus control or fighting what they want. Right, so there's one thing to take note here. We always feel like we need to control our kids. But the truth is, you cannot control your kids. You can only control yourself. If you want to keep controlling your kids, but they want to be in control, then it is going to lead to very bad outcomes, because the child doesn't want to listen to you, but you want to control the child and start yelling, and it strains the relationship. So I agree about how they need to learn how to draw the line, how to accept no, and we will let them do that. So I talked about how It's okay to say no. It's okay to set the boundaries. It's okay for a child to be upset when we don't give them what they want. Okay? When I say age appropriate, I will mean a realistic way. For example, if you want to let your child choose whether he gets to watch 1 hour of screen time or like half an hour of screen time, obviously the child will choose like 1 hour of screen time, right? So that's a boundary that is not going to be helpful for the child. So you want to help the child be able to set him up for success. All right, so when the child says that he wants to watch like half an hour of screen time and it's within your limits, then that's a choice, an option that you give the child. You're empowering the child to choose. And this is not what we call like being permissive, or we're not giving in, because we have already set the larger boundary, the bigger decision. Okay, yeah. Let me see what else. The teachers in okay, this is about the net time. Let me try to answer a bit more. Okay, what if my child is at the end of the spectrum? My child is not motivated or doesn't want to do things because she is not keen to compete or lose. All right. My child, okay, actually no one likes losing, right? Even me, like sometimes my kid will ask me to play the game, like he asked me to solve the Rubik's Cube, but I'm just not good at it, and sometimes I just don't want to do it. So even our kids as well. But as adults, we think that, they need to try. They don't try, they wouldn't know. We need to teach them how to be resilient, how to be motivated. So if the child is not strong-willed, the child is just want to give up easily, that's where we want to empower the child and teach the child the idea of having a growth mindset. Okay, so a growth mindset is when the child sees that yes, it's something that he cannot do it, but as parents we teach them that it's hard before it's easy. You cannot do it yet. You can do it if you try. So for our young children, there's a lot of encouraging, a lot of motivating our children to help them see that it can be done if you try. Okay, and it will take a while. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think it's important the way you speak to your kids, as well as you model how you are resilient yourself. So you model growth mindset. Oh no, I made a mistake. I should have turned right, but I turned left. Okay, mommy made a mistake. Okay, it's okay. I'll try again. Next time I make a U-turn, I'll remember. Or can you help me remember I need to turn right next time? Something like that. So when you show your kids that mistakes are normal, we lose at times. Let's say you're playing board games and you tell kids, oh, mommy lost the game. So I'll make it very explicit to my kids. I make a mistake. I lose. I'm upset. So disappointed that I cannot drink the tea is out of stock. Let the kids see that it's normal to experience these feelings, and over time they don't beat themselves up. Okay, so just when we're talking about growth mindset, the growth mindset and intrinsic motivation toolkit is out for grabs. It is our early bird bonus for the course. So if you sign up for the course by tomorrow, Saturday, you'll be able to get this toolkit where I give you the scripts to use and I teach you what to say, some kind of strategies that you can try at home to help your children who are just not motivated, who gives up easily, who don't want to lose. Yeah, I think this is good for your kids because I've tried it myself. Many parents have tried it. And I think it's important for us to start young to help our kids see that you need to have a growth mindset. These are actually the more important skills than the spelling and the phonics. It's really that mentality that I can do hard things. 7-year-old talks rudely to me, talks back. How do I rectify this? Now, back talking is something very triggering for many of us. Again, I go back to like I mentioned earlier, to calm yourself down first. Don't take it personally. Okay, don't think that this back talking is how it is directed at you. I want you to be that adult who is informed, who can step one level higher than the kids and see that the child is dysregulated. So how do you rectify this? You have to calm yourself down. You have to calm the child down. Only when the child is ready, then you talk about, do you remember when you spoke to me in this tone? This is a rude tone, and I think we can improve on it together. So don't tell your kids that you are rude, because when you say that, the child thinks that he is rude. But the truth is, the behavior is inappropriate. The rude behavior is inappropriate, but your child is good. So if you tell your child that you are rude, you are making him internalize this idea that he is a rude person. But we want to disconnect the behavior and the child. All right? How do we manage a 4-year-old who cries loudly every frustrating situation? Example, losing her things. We don't want to say don't cry, but we also don't want to give permission for her to cry all the time. Okay, so if the child is often crying very loudly because of something that, he doesn't get what she wants, like example, losing her things, again, we calm the child down first. We don't want to give the child permission to cry all the time. We want to teach the child how you can problem solve and think of ways to find whatever she has lost. But that teaching cannot be done when the child is crying. That teaching has to be done outside the moment. So we allow the child to cry, but we don't give her permission to cry all the time by teaching her when she is calm. Doing a pretend play, maybe you can give her a book and say, okay, now I'm going to pretend that you lost the book. So what are you going to do? Do it with her. Oh, I've lost my book. Where is my book? I'm so upset. I'm going to take a deep breath. Okay, where was the last time I read the book? Or maybe I read it in the living room. So you walk her to the living room and you just run through the entire process. It doesn't mean that your child will know how to do it the next time. But if you don't teach her how else to manage the emotions and what else to do, then she will never learn. So we want to take steps to teach our kids. Okay? Alright, I'll just answer 1 or 2 more questions here. Let me see, something about strong-willed kids. What should I do if my 20-month-old girl once in a while hits my husband? If I scold her, she will just cry. Okay, we don't allow the child to hit. We'll never tolerate any aggressive behaviors. So if the child starts hitting, you have to hold her hand. You don't have to scold her. You just have to stop her. You can let her cry. Scolding doesn't help the child to learn. I'm not sure about you guys, but sometimes when your child acting out, you start scolding the child, then they start acting out again another day. So what does this show? Right? All this scolding doesn't help. It doesn't help the child to learn better behaviors. So instead of that, I want you to think about, how do I teach my 20-month-old to manage herself and not hit? Maybe she can hug her favorite stuffed toy, or when she's upset, she can point to a chart and say, I'm angry at daddy. Maybe she can't speak yet, but she can point. So this is another outlet for her to express herself. And that's how you build skills, not by scolding her. All right? Okay. I think that's about it. I'll just summarize today's session so far. I hope that you take something out of it. We talked about how our strong-willed kids are actually wonderful children. Okay, this temperament is a gift for them. We just need to identify their strengths and see that when they're strong-willed, determined, they are, independent. It just means, they're strong-willed and defiant means that they're independent and determined, and these are good traits. But in reality, it's hard for us parents, so we need to understand why they're acting out this way. So we try to avoid any misunderstanding. We calm ourselves down, we step out of this power struggle, we try to see how we can meet their needs. It's so important for you not to take it personally, okay? So, and I also talk about how, children have this intrinsic need to be autonomous and have agency. So we want to offer age-appropriate control. We can make the big decision for our kids and they will make the small decisions. And all this I will cover in my course as well, which is currently open. So if you have any questions about the course, you can drop me a DM. But this is where I journey with parents for 4 weeks and help them to better communicate with their children, especially children who they perceive as strong-willed, but really these kids are just misunderstood. So we want to be there to understand the kids. We want to learn the strategies and the scripts to use, like I shared earlier. Tell your kids, you are having a hard time. I can tell you're very unhappy about it. So when the child says, I hate you, mommy, I know it's going to take a lot out of you to not be affected. But you got to try. You got to, either walk away, you got to drink water, text a friend, call your husband or your wife, just not to take it personally. Okay, it's going to be very hard, but with practice it will get better, and I can assure you it's not just me. There are many parents who have tried it, and they have realized that if they calm themselves down, it's so much easier to manage their strong-willed children. So grab your growth mindset and intrinsic motivation toolkit if you sign up by tomorrow, and I think these modules will be very helpful for you. So if you don't get it as well, let me know. If you sign up by tomorrow you don't get it, let me know. Yeah, feel free to drop me a DM with any questions. Okay, so I will chat with you again next week, and I'll see you on IG stories, on my feed. Yeah, and I'll upload this live as well. Okay, goodbye. Yes, thank you so much. If you're here for 3 lives, can you let me know? I really appreciate that you take time to be here and talk to me, chat with me. All right, let's see. Shall we roll our thoughts? Yeah, and continue to keep trying. Okay, it's very hard to manage our kids, especially those who are so difficult to understand, but we can learn. We can take time to support them. Okay, so I see many of you are here for all 3 lives. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. I really appreciate you. All right, goodbye.